Welcome everyone to our second product webinar at Simply.Coach. This is a recap of all the features we've built out for you over the last few weeks. And we've had the need to do that more often over the last few months because product's been growing, the requirements from you has been growing. It's great to see the product evolving like this. And we are very proud of what we are about to show you today. Of course, while we have shortlisted and we had to shortlist just a few of the features to show today, you'll see that we keep posting these releases, and Nikhil is very helpful in preparing these lovely release notes with explainers on how you can get started on each of these features. And that, of course, comes out every week whenever we do our product release. For today, we've shortlisted 4 features, and these are the ones that we'll talk through today. The first one is on just a very simple thing of how we've reorganized the profile and account settings. Again, it's just a way of making sure that things are logical, you find them where you need to. And the others are all requests that have come through from you who have been using this product for maybe a year or more even now. And that's, I think, the piece that I'm most proud about for this webinar, that all the features that we're showing you are direct requests from you. And we've been happy to indulge and build those out for you. Of course, as people trickle in, I just want to start with a very basic one, which is we've reorganized the profile and account settings. So there are 2 pieces of this, of course. The personal settings, your time zone, if you need to change it, if you're traveling, your email, if you want to update it to a business email, and your account settings, which would be your business name, logos, colors, and things like that. And if I just go into the platform, I'll show you where to find each of these now. For your personal details, of course, click on your name on the top right, go into your profile settings. Then you have the profile and preferences for the time zone, date format, profile image, and all of that. You also have the ability to update your email or password from inside the platform. That's the profile settings here. And of course, there's the referral program that I'd love for you to check out a little more in detail. Now, for everything related to your account, that's business related, you find that under admin, account settings. This is where your business name, which shows up in the emails that are sent out to your clients. So it would say Mason from Simply Coach Demo has assigned you an action. That's how the signature will also be added in the email. And we spoke about this in the previous webinar when we showcased this, but the branding, the logo, the colors, depending on the plan you're on, that's also found directly in the account settings from now. So that's the brief distinction we've made now with all these backend settings to ensure that your platform, your coachee's platform is all branded at the correct color with the correct logo, with your account settings maintained correctly and your profile settings correct. So that's just a brief overview I wanted to show you, just so that you're not lost when you need to update these things. And I'm sure these are just one-time things, but if ever you need to. So that's on the account settings, and I know very basic feature, but we're also quite surprised that even today we are still improving basic features. And that brings me to the next one that I want to showcase today. And that's around your entire session module. Of course, that's crucial and essential to the entire coaching piece, almost the foundation of all of that, all of the stuff we've built out. And one of the pieces of feedback we got was tracking cancellations and reschedules was a little hard. It was possible, of course, but it wasn't giving the coach sufficient insight of, hey, how many cancellations are happening? Why are reschedules happening? How much time have I lost in these things? That's why capturing who rescheduled the session or canceled it, when it was done, and why it was done is something that we have built out right now. To give you a brief overview, you'll see that every time you schedule or reschedule the session or cancel it, the process remains the same. Hey, okay, I need to reschedule this session. It's supposed to be today at 4 p.m. Hey, I need to move it by an hour. I would come into the platform, reschedule, pick the new date. Let's say I need to move it, I said, by an hour. to 5 p.m., still an hour. And this is where either the coach, the coachee, the account owner, or the program manager, whoever is doing the reschedule, will be able to say, okay, this was rescheduled because the coach had some personal work that they needed to ask the session to be moved. That's where you would put in requested by coach. Now, of course, this is just a particular session that I'm showing you, for example. But this becomes very powerful when you're pulling reports saying, hey, show me all the reschedules that have happened in the last quarter by this coach when they have requested it. And I'll show that to you in a bit, but I want to dwell a little more on the reasons you have. Of course, clients can also request. And this is when it gets difficult, especially when they're saying, hey, I'm sorry, I have to reschedule. That's where the tracking comes in and becomes more important. Also, from the point of view of billing, saying, okay, this was requested from the client. And because it was within the period where half the cost of the session is billable, you would also bill them off when you're pulling the report. Given that we're all human, there is also the possibility that, hey, I just picked the wrong date by mistake, and you can quickly reschedule so that again it's tracked. And when the person pulling the reports are looking at it, hey, why was the session rescheduled? Okay, it's fine. It's just a scheduling error. No worries, and you can move forward. Now, not just the coach, as I mentioned, but coachees can also put in the session the reason for reschedule. So when they reschedule the session, again, they just need to pick the new date and time. Let's say the 2nd of Feb doesn't work for them, 9th of Feb doesn't work. They move it to the 10th to 10:30 and select the reason for reschedule. They are requesting it. They could put in some description if they need to so that the coach is again up to date and they know what's happening, and then schedule the session. This reschedule has now gone through. Of course, both coachees, calendars, emails are updated on this. And that's it. That's done. Similarly, you have the ability to cancel sessions and add in a cancellation reason. Here, a gentle reminder, only the coach is able to cancel sessions. Coachees aren't able to. And let's say I need to cancel a session with Adrian here. I go into his sessions tab. Now he's requested that he needs to move this session. He doesn't know when he'll be able to do the next one. So it's, yeah, that's straightforward. You could come in and cancel here. And again, you have the reasons for cancellation. No-shows are perhaps the most common, also the most annoying, but they need to be tracked. And a clarification here that we had a question yesterday from one of our users. Do they need to cancel the session to mark it as a no-show? And the answer is yes. That session is effectively done, used up, but cannot be rescheduled or whatever. So you need to say, yes, I'm canceling it off because it didn't happen and can't happen again. And it was a no-show, unfortunately. In the rare occasion where the no-show is from the coach's end, the program manager or the coach themselves can mark it off, again, just from a tracking perspective. And sometimes it's unavoidable where you need to step out, personal work, an emergency. And that's where the other commitments is there. So yes, I did not show up, but at least there was a very good reason for it, and I'm sorry for that. So again, these cancellation reasons are important to track, especially when you're looking back as a business saying, hey, I have so many coaches, I need to know how many hours they're losing. I need to be able to pull up the users who are canceling sessions at the last minute, canceling sessions too often, and things like that. See, I just canceled that session. And I'll show you where you see all these reasons and where you can pull the reports in a bit. But I just wanted to point out that because there is the ability to schedule recurring sessions, if you do need to cancel recurring sessions from a certain date onwards, or even just a particular recurring session, that opportunity is there also. You see, there's this high potential leaders cohort with the coach's name. That's a recurring session every week, starting from the 1st of Feb. Let's say, hey, I'm sorry, I know I had planned to do this, but let's start this in March, or let's not do this right now. We'll take a rain check on this, and when required, kick it off. And so you would just come in and cancel it. Of course, we've saved you the trouble of canceling every session separately. So while you can again select the reason saying this is other, as in we just need to move this out, it's nobody's fault really, but cancel this and all future occurrences in this series, or of course the other opportunities to cancel only this session. Let's say no, we not start from the 1st of Feb. We'll start from the second session. We don't need the first one. So that works too. And if you did cancel all of them, again, each of those cancellations would happen separately. Your calendars would get removed of those sessions, and then you're ready to move forward from there. So I just canceled all the sessions for this cohort. And here is where in the session history, you'd find the logs for all the sessions that have been done. Going into the session history for this cohort, you see that the most recent entries, let me do this, yeah, are the cancellations. When was the date of the cancellation? What session was this? Who canceled it? And this is of course important when you have a coaching business. You as the coach might not have canceled the sessions. You might have asked your program manager to do it on your behalf. And that's logged also. Of course, this was a cancellation with other reason given for the reason. Of course, when you scroll down, you'll see that you see the reschedules here. This was done on behalf of the coach by the program manager, Alina. And for reschedules, the important question is from when to when was it rescheduled? So this was moved just from the 15th of Jan to the 16th. And the difference in the sessions, so from the date on which you did it, which is the 10th here, to when uh, it was scheduled for. So 15th was when the session was scheduled for. It was rescheduled on the 10th. That's 4 days and 14 hours of gap. If that falls inside of your range of non-billable, perfect. You have that information right here. Alternatively, if it's falling in the range of billable hours, you would want this data right here and calculate it for you so that, hey, if it's more than 3 days, it's billable at least 25%. Sorry, if it's less than 7 days, it's billable by 25% and things like that. So this in the session history, just to remind you, any engagement, any cohort, you click on the 3 dots here and then move to the session history. This is where you get all that information. Importantly, this can be downloaded into an Excel sheet, and then you can do the various manipulation there. And especially when you're working with an organization that is asking for reports, Excel is going to be crucial for you. Speaking of organizations, while it's important and interesting to get these reports out at an individual level, Coachee A rescheduled their session today. Coachee B canceled their session for next week. Collating all of that is hard and you don't need to do that. Go into the organization that they're part of. And here too, you have a session history. And go into that session history, and then you have all the sessions logs. You see the most recent ones being the cancellations that I just showed you, the reschedules that I showed you as well. And again, you have all of this data. You could filter it out, export it out into an Excel, and then manipulate it there, pull out your billing reports and things like that. Now, just to wrap this up, while the reasons for reschedule, the exact details of when they happened and all of that are crucial, you would also perhaps want to take a step back or take a step higher than that and say, hey, just give me the numbers of reschedules or the numbers of cancellations. That you'll find in the recently released analytics in the reschedules and cancellation. I'll just take cancellations as an example. Let's say I want to see all the sessions that have been canceled by, sorry, for the organization company B, right? This gives me all the cancellations. You see there are 13 here, with the cancellation reason being client no-show on each of these occasions. Of course, I could just clear this and I have all my data. I've had 61 sessions canceled over the last 2 years that I've been operating. Each of the sessions logs when the session was, what the session was, the type, the cancellation reason, of course. And You then have other rows, other columns that you can also show. Like you see, there are quite a few cancellations from company D. You see that, hey, that's not a good sign. You might want to pull up and say, okay, give me company D only. Okay, that's 14 out of the 61 entries that you had, quite a bit. You might want to compare and check whether this is happening with individuals, whether it's happening with cohorts. And if you don't need some of the fields you see here, you just unselect it. It's not really important which coach the cancellations are happening with, but it is absolutely important that I see the cancellation reason. You might even say, hey, give me those sessions where the cancellation reason is or contains client. So it's something that has been initiated from there. And I say, okay, that's fine. That's not too bad. There's only one session where the client had other commitments and canceled for company D. And of course, it works similarly for the reschedules. And you're able to pull this data out, export it into an Excel again, neatly formatted, exactly the columns you need. We'll take a breath there. That's the entire cycle of rescheduling sessions, canceling sessions easily, adding a reason, tracking the cancellations, and then pulling reports based on these reschedules and cancellations. While we've been talking about cancellations and reschedules, that's not the most pleasant thing that happens. Let's move into the scenario where a session actually does happen, where you are at your best, you're doing your sessions, you're enjoying your coaching, you're doing what you really love. Then comes the note-taking piece. Of course, again, this is a very basic feature, and you might be wondering, hey, why are we showing this to you today? But it's an important usability update that we've made, where if you go into a particular session which you're making notes for, you can't see notes from previous sessions. Or even, and this has unfortunately happened a couple of times, you're making your notes, you spend 30 minutes making notes, and you say, hey, wait a minute, I need to check my or what goals are this coach working on? I need to know the phrasing accordingly. And you might click away from the private journal or close it, and you lose all your notes. That's, I guess, your worst nightmare as a coach. And we've tried to solve both of those issues. First, you'll see that the private journal itself looks the same. You have all your notes. You can pin certain notes on the top, and it's easy to review them. When I'm making new notes, let's say I've just finished my session, going into my private journal to make notes. First, I have all existing journal entries on the right-hand side. So again, as I'm making notes, as I'm talking, and from some of you, we've heard that you even pull up Simply.Coach while you're doing your session. So just as how I'm talking to you, I might be taking my notes here. And of course, I can use a reflection template if I want to. And while I'm doing this, I have my notes from the past sessions here. And that helps you even say, oh, hey, I remember we talked about waiting. I have a question during our last session. Or here's something we discussed 3 months ago. This is just a way of delighting your clients, saying, hey, you remember what they are working on. You remember what really means for them. And it's easy then to look through your previous notes, make your notes here. And let's say, hey, quickly, I need to check my goals. The platform would stop you. Hello, you need to capture your notes. You need to save your notes. Are you sure you want to leave this page? Because you might have unsaved changes. Thank God I got a warning. I better save my notes first. And now I can move away. Check my goals of, okay, this person was working on being invested in people. I can now come back safely to the private journal. I have my half written notes there. I update it quickly of, here's what they're working on, here's what they have achieved, and then move forward. So again, small feature, crucial to how you're going to be using Simply.Coach. And that's why we thought it'll be great to show this to you. Of course, two advantages. One, you have your notes right here while you're making notes, new notes. And two, you're warned if you're trying to go off the page without saving it. I have a final feature which will take me at least 15 minutes to explain. It's a lovely piece and we spent quite a bit of effort building it out. Can't wait to show it to you. But before that, again, any thoughts or questions so far? I've shown you three small features. Anything that you'd like me to explain in more detail? So, custom fields. Now, your private journal is a space for you to be putting in your notes. You have all your text. You could even be uploading the images of the notes you make with pen and paper, converting it to an image, PDF, and putting it in. The challenge with that is if there is a very particular attribute that you're tracking on a particular individual, or sorry, on all your individuals. For instance, you have a personality type that determines how you do your coaching. And it's essential that that is marked for all your coaches and tagged somewhere which is easy for you to find. What we built out then is the ability for you to even create your own fields that you need to add to the engagement, add to the contact. And then, when you do this personality assessment, and I'll stick with that example, you finish the coachee finishes the assessment, they get the report, you get the answer of what kind of personality they have. And instead of having nowhere to put it or having to put it in the private journal, you now have the opportunity to add it directly into the coachee's engagement. What do I mean? Let me show that to you. If I just go into the showcase profile, you have custom fields here. And this is where you can create all of these different fields. Let me show you the ones that I've added to the engagement. For instance, I'm tracking the package that I've given this particular coachee, and you'll see that these fields aren't already there on your account. You have the standard fields, name, email, time zone, organization, whether you want to sync with your calendar and things like that on the engagement form, right? So when I start a new engagement, I have all of these fields. But then when you scroll down, you'll realize I have added extra details for myself and my account, which of course won't be visible on your account, for me to track things on how I do my coaching. For instance, I need to track, and this is crucial for me because again, it determines how my coaching is done. It will also help me in my reports of what kind of package this individual is working on. It's a 12-month standard package. And I also track coaches with a unique number when they come on board. And this is coachee number 98. So again, the ability to create these extra fields for you to be logically and clearly putting in the data that you have in engagements is crucial. Creating custom fields is straightforward, and let me just do that now. I add a new field for the engagement. It's going to be a multiple choice field, and I'm going to put it in the category of extra details again. And the label, or what I want to call the field and what I want to track, is profile type. Of course, here is where I'd put my options. So for now, let me just say A, B, and C. So that when I come in, I finish this profile and I need to update the coachee's profile. I have one place to do it. Right here. So this is the coachee going through 12-month standard program. He's going through he's a profile type B, and the unique identification number is 98. I just need to save this. And now the details that I'm capturing across all my coaches at a particular level are tracked in one place, easily reportable. Now, custom fields don't have to be tagged just to a engagement. You'll see that they can also be tagged to contacts. For contacts, the idea is that you have the engagement where you're capturing coaching data, coaching specific data, but you have the contact where you might be capturing data on the coachee themselves, not necessarily related to coaching. So maybe it's important for you to capture the name and email of their spouse. It might be important for you to know which markets they work on. Let's say you're a sales coach, and that's important. It could even be details like how many jobs they have had before. 48 might be a bit more extra, but 4 sounds good. Market served is an interesting metric just for depending on the use cases you have. And this is an interesting use case that we heard from a coach of ours, where they said that, hey, I distinguish between VIP clients, which I give extra coaching hours to, versus those who I give my standard coaching package. So it's important to know if it's a VIP or not, because when the coach takes over, they'll have to account for these sessions and plan accordingly. Again, these additional fields that you're seeing are not visible on your login simply because you haven't created these custom fields. I've added them for the purpose of the demo. And this is also to demonstrate that custom fields that I have added won't be visible on your account. And similarly, custom fields that you add won't be visible to the others who are using Simply.Coach. Now, capturing additional data on coaches is important, of course, contacts, engagements, but you might also have additional data to capture on your coaches, especially when you're a coaching business, you have a roster of 5, 10, 15 coaches. It's important that you know additional information about them just for your own purposes. Has this person been certified by Gallup Strength? Has this person or does this person want to receive additional training on the job, especially if you're going to be hiring junior coaches? And instead of sending them a separate form where they fill it out and then you have no way to capture that data, you can also create custom fields for the showcase. And when they come into their profile to make their notes, again, they see a space called extra details. And this is where they would update the questions that you are asking them directly. So here are some questions that I've set up here. What is the experience that the coach has on coach training? And EMCC is the body certification body being used in this example. The background is also great because depending on this, you might suggest them to clients or assign them to engagements depending on the work that's coming in. And how much of an expert they are, what's their level of expertise on different parameters, whatever you need to track. And again, an interesting use case here was that instead of asking the coach to send their billing information separately, you ask them to put it into their profile. Of course, all the information added to the profile, which you have additionally asked them to add in the extra details, is visible only to you as the owner of the account. So all of this custom fields, adding them on contacts, engagements, and the showcase takes care of capturing additional information that Simply.Coach as platform providers haven't provided for everybody. This allows for a great level of customization and truly making the platform yours beyond just your colors and logo and all of that. Again, adding all of this data is great. Where do I find reports? How can I report on this information? How can I correlate some of this information with other coaching outcomes or coaching metrics that I'm seeing? Again, the analytics page is your friend. And let's say I want to look at my engagements. Remember, I had added two additional custom fields here. The profile type, 3 today, the profile type, the package, and the unique identification number. For instance, I might want to know, okay, what kind of package am I selling more often these days? And the unique identification number tells me that because that's the chronology in which I've added these individuals. So I have selected these options and you see that the package is here. Let me bring it a little closer. So Abdullahi is doing a 6-month accelerator. Akio is doing mentor coach hybrid. Aliria is doing a 12-month standard. Again, that's great. I can filter this to show me only those that have a package assigned. Again, that's great, but show me only those who have the package of a 6-month accelerator. That's 3 individuals. Great. I can then accordingly filter out and say, okay, show me those who are on the 12-month standard package. Cool. How many of them are ending engagement soon? I have that information right here. And then that's again quick and easy information for you to know exactly what your next steps are, which each of these individuals. So just as all the standard coach fields with the data that you inputted are available right here for you to be reporting out, looking through, you also have the custom fields that are then added as part of the platform as if they were no different from all these other fields so that you can filter them out, pull out reports, take next steps out directly from here without needing to hunt through your entire list of 50, 100 coaches. Again, just as you have the engagements, you have the contacts also. And I want to dwell a little more on this with an example where I showed you that, the you are asking them what market they serve and what their focus market is. So yeah, I have the first name, last name, email, the market served, and the focus market that you're working on. Let me say that I need to know all my coaches who are working in the European market. So I filter that out again easily. Market served equals Europe, right? That gives me all of these individuals. And now that's important for me to know, okay, hey, something's happened in Europe. It's going to affect these coaches. I'm going to bring it up during my next session. And then you quickly look through these and say, okay, cool. That makes 6 individuals. And then you now have the list. You can make your mental note or you can add a note directly to these separate engagements or even an action to yourself saying, bring up recent developments in privacy laws in Europe. That way you are up to date. It's quick and easy for you to be finding this information. And again, it's just improving the level of coaching you're doing. And that's after all what Simply Coach is for, where the data that you're putting in is now going to be directly useful for you when you're doing your coaching. That covers what the custom fields can do. A small caveat here is that the custom fields are available under the showcase profile for for users who are on the Leap for individual coaches or search plan for coaching businesses. That's where the customization also with the colors comes. So along with that, you have the customization for the fields and the data that you're capturing in the platform. That's what I had for you today. I will stop here and take your questions. Okay. Might be a bit, quite a bit to take in for now. So no worries at all. If you do have questions as we go forward today, tomorrow, over the coming weeks, when you play around with these features, feel free to reach out to us as always, and we'll be happy to get into these features in more detail with you, help you understand them better and take things forward from there. And before I close, the last thing I want to show you is, in case you haven't seen it already, you have the What's New button where we update our improvements, new features, small fixes and things like that. Of course, things that we don't inform you directly, you'll find all of it right here. And Nikhil is very helpful in writing this out clearly, concisely, with screenshots so that you know where to get started as well. Thank you everyone for coming wherever you are in the world. That's always a nice thing where you have people across the globe, halfway across the globe also. And again, the features that I've showed you today are directly feature requests that we've got from you. Please do keep the feedback coming. It's what allows us to do what we do and love what we do.